Hello, I'm Robert, and you're welcome here in my business little shop. On today's episode of What's on My Workbench, I've got a business topic that I want to talk about. Not long ago, I did a video on setting up my booth, putting my best foot forward, and how I interact and talk with my customers, that type of thing. And it was a very popular video. I'll put a link in the description for that video, but it's been viewed quite a few times. So I thought I would follow that up because recently I made a change here on my channel and on my shipping of materials and that type of thing. And I wanted to make a video here and explain the change that I made, because it may seem like a lot, but it's not. But I think it can have a positive impact. When I first started making my belts, one of them here, most of them were family and friends. And people are like, I looked at it, you didn't sign your work anywhere. You need to sign your work. And I thought about actually signing it. My signature is not all that fancy, so probably wouldn't translate. It would look like someone was trying to see if a pen was working. But my wife and I were visiting the Southwest Leather Trade Show in Prescott, Arizona. We walked around the corner and Tim Purdy was there, and he was selling his steel stamps. Now, I've talked about Tim Purdy steel stamps before. This is the stamp I had made, I guess, 3.5 years ago. And I've had some others. There's a couple there. I've got others that he's made as well. He's made me a total of 5 stamps. And so my wife insisted that we go ahead and do this, make this investment to have that. And it was probably one of the best decisions I made as far as, marketing myself. And anytime you're selling stuff and you're sending it to someone, you're marketing yourself. You're in a business. It may be a small business, but you're in a business. So it wasn't very long after that, and I had a conversation with a local artist up here. She's a potter, and she was asking me, what do I give people whenever they, buy something in my booth? I'm like, that sounds like a trick question. I give them the belt. Well, do you put it in anything, or you just hand it to them? I'm like, well, most of the time I hand it to them, or if it's something they want a bag, then I've got some grocery bags here. And she's like, no, I wouldn't do that. She said, having something nicer than that would be good. So I went online and I found these cloth bags. Uline is where I got the first ones. I had a free shipping, but anymore I don't buy from them because it got really expensive. Their shipping, the bag was cheap. Their shipping and handling was expensive, which ties into today's conversation. So I had these made, and my wife saw these, and she goes, those are nice. And then her mind starts working, and she said, do you have the file that Tim Purdy, he created the logo for me based off of just some pencil sketching. Didn't charge for it because it was a fairly simple logo to make. I like the backwards R with the L. And so I sent that to my wife, and she had a rubber stamp made so that I could stamp the bags. Now, a lot of you guys have seen that, and I get a lot of positive comments. I've had people say, do you mind if I steal this idea? Look, if I can help you, if that's an idea that you want to run with, by all means, please do so. Don't use my logo. Get your own made. But she made one that was this size, which is, I was looking a while ago, it's 3 inches. And I think this logo rubber stamp was like $35 or $40. And recently, when I ordered some more bags, I found some smaller ones to go for like wallets and such. And so this ties in with today's conversation. Let's get over here on the workbench, and I'll show you where I'm going with that. I do appreciate you taking time to be with me in the shop today. So here's that bag again, and here's the rubber stamp that my wife had made for me 3 years ago, I guess, somewhere around then. And there's the back of it so you can see the logo. But I had both of these made. It's Bossy Josie, I think is how she says it. I'll put a link for them in my description as well. So now that I have this, I really start kind of thinking about different things. When I had her get the 1-inch one, it was because at the time my business cards, I would order them with just my phone number on it and email address, and the rest of it's blank. And I was actually taking my my maker's mark, the steel one, in dye or in ink and stamping each of the cards. So it was my logo because they wanted a bunch of money to create the logo on there. So then I started using this. Since then, I've gone ahead and took the plunge and had the logo made with my cards. So then the next logical step for me was to get a paper bag, and I can use the same logo to mark the paper bag. And so I started thinking about a couple of other areas, and one of them is when I'm shipping it and when I need a bigger bag. So I started looking on the internet, and I found a company called the Boxery. And here's the box that I was using before that. I would use this USPS flat rate box. And almost every time I left the post office, I was always like, I wonder, especially they keep raising the price on this. When I first started, this was like $8.70 to ship, and now it's $12.60 to ship anywhere in the United States. But a lot of times I'm not shipping far away. You know, I met someone at the show, they went home. Sometimes I'm just shipping across town and it's $12.60. But a lot of times what kept me from making that move, maybe I was just being lazy, but I'm like, where do I get a box? And I would start collecting boxes. There's boxes here that you recognize here. I think you recognize that logo, even with that tape covering almost all of that logo. So I would reuse boxes if it didn't fit in one of their boxes here. And while I was looking online, I'm like looking for boxes. And so before that, I was using newspaper and this box here, $12.60 now, and I would put that cloth bag inside of a Ziploc because I got paranoid after one time when the box arrived and it was soaked all the way through and had watermarking on my leather. So I used the Ziploc bag. So I started looking and I found these boxes. This box here is 2 by 4 by 5. It's actually a little bit on the generous side. It's about 5.5, but by 5. And it's 36 cents. So they come in a pack of 50 for 36 cents. That's $18 to try this and see how it works. And someone's going to say, where am I going to store 50 boxes? Well, this is the bigger box I'll talk about here in a second. That's what 50 looks like. So it doesn't take up a bunch of space in your shop. I think you probably have room for that. But it's 36 cents. So I took, the last time I was in the post office, I was shipping some stuff to Rhode Island. You may have seen the project there. It was a little tool carrier. And while I was there, I took one of these boxes and I put a belt in it. And I said on the counter, I said, how much to ship this to Rhode Island? Because from here in Colorado, that's pretty far away. And it's by zone and by weight. To ship this to Rhode Island was $11. I then asked, shipping this to Southern California, how much is it there? It was $9. So it's not a whole lot about saving money. It's about, I think, presenting yourself professional. And why not start with getting some of your logo recognition? You don't have to go that route. You can just get the box and ship it. And so it's $11 to Rhode Island. And then you got to buy the box. This box is free, or you would think it is. It's 36 cents. So $11.36 or $12.70. Maybe that's not enough to make it worthwhile for you, but this has driven me crazy because it keeps going up at a pretty quick rate from $8.70 just a few years ago to $12.60. And someone's like, that's still cheap. It might be cheap, but I pass that cost along to my customer or my client. And if it gets to where I'm adding almost $13 to the price of my belt, well, that may put it over the top of being too expensive. So while I'm online, I'm like, what else do you have that I might use? And so whenever I ship 2 belts, they won't fit in here. I've tried. They just don't fit in here. Maybe if they're like 32-inch belts and they're 1-inch belts, I can get 2 of them in here. The 1.5-inch belt actually bows this thing out. That doesn't look all that great either. So I picked 2-inch because that's about the size of a buckle on a 1.5-inch belt. So then, you remember I talked about using newspaper. So I was using newspaper in there. And I don't get that much newspaper anymore, and a lot of it I use here, especially in Colorado, to start fires. So it's not like my newspaper ends up in the trash, still won't. But I went online and I was looking at the Boxery again, and they had this roll of paper here, 18 inches wide, 750 feet long. They call it 50 pound. It's a nice heavy paper. But to me, that's more professional than shoving newspaper in there, especially if you remember back when I said I had the one that got wet. If I'd had newspaper in that box, it probably would have stained my leather items. So everything in a plastic bag now, and I've got a better looking, what I think is a better looking paper. So then it got me thinking, what else do you have? And so I was using, Ziploc bags. Someone would say Ziploc. Some of the quart bags would say great value on it. And I don't know, that didn't seem right either. So I was looking, and they had the plastic bags. These are 6x8, which is the same size as the cloth bag. So I figured if the cloth bag works, the 6x8 would work. And they're less than 3 cents a piece. And the quart Ziploc bags are almost 6 cents a piece. Now, there's 1,000 of them there for $27, and it'll take me a long time to use up 1,000 of those. But it gives me a bag that is then clear, doesn't have any writing on it. And once again, I think it goes towards the professionalism. This box here, I don't remember if I said it already, but it's 53 cents. So 53 cents, which is $26.50 for 50 bags. Or boxes. So I've got 50 boxes for $26.50. And you can see it doesn't take up a whole lot of space, and it gives you the ability to customize the box instead of shipping like too big of a box. Because if I had 2 belts in the past, they wouldn't fit in here, like I said. So I would get, I don't have a medium box, this is a large, but the medium box is about 2 inches smaller in each direction around here and slightly shorter, but not a lot. They keep getting smaller. The price goes up and they get smaller. But a medium box right now to ship is $21.95. I shipped a box that was bigger than this, full of items, to Rhode Island, and it was, I think it was $20.52, something like that. So, once again, it's not necessarily about saving money. It's about putting a professional foot forward when it comes to that. And each time I was driving back from the post office, I don't even know where to look for boxes. And then I'm like, that's kind of a small detail. I'm on to something else. And I've got a artisan show coming up, I think, yet this week. We got to look and see. The weather's looking pretty ugly. And I started thinking about bags beyond the paper bag here with the logo on it. And I got these at the Boxery as well. And shoot, I need to look up and see what the price on these were. But I got a box of these, and it's a nice bag. I'm able to put my stamp on it yet again and customize it. Now, the Boxery, they do, sorry, Mr. Boxery, but they will make a logo box for you. So if you want to create your own logo box and have them do it, they'll do the imprinting for you and ship it to you. I don't have a price on it because it's like one of those, it kind of depends type of thing. But here's the bag that I got from the Boxery. So a lot of the times, if you've got a purse or a journal, once again, I get back to where I don't have anything to put it in. So I ordered these, and then I logoed them myself. Even unlogoed, this would look a lot better than using a plastic t-shirt bag that has some grocery store chain name on it. But this really just kind of goes along with my theme of presenting a professional appearance with your customers. You only get a chance to make a first impression once. I try to make sure that when I go to one of my booths, I dress professionally. It's not a shirt and tie, but it's usually a button-up shirt because I want to present myself professionally. And I get out front and I talk about my product. And I think all these things together really help me to get repeat customers. Over half of my business is repeat customers. People that have bought belts from me before, or they bought a wallet, now they want a belt, or they bought a inexpensive or less expensive belt, and now they want one of my better belts. And I've got other things that I'm working on in here. It just kind of proves the point. But my client base has grown from year to year. And I think a lot of it's off of, I think I've got a competitive price on a custom item. I'm not cheap. My prices have gotten worked up higher now than they were when I started. And I think that's part of that equation. But I feel like this is the next natural progression. Check out the Boxery. I think you'll be surprised. I was shocked at the fact that this is only 36 cents for a nice clean white box. Like I said, you can get them in brown if you don't like a white box. They do get dirty, but I still think that's a nice looking box when it arrives for the customer. And I bought I got my packing tape from them as well. $2.32 a roll. I ended up grabbing myself another tape gun. I don't know if I loaned it out to one of my kids when they were moving and didn't get it back, but I used to have like 3 of these and I'm down to 1. And so I need to get another tape gun. So I hope that this topic maybe resonates with you and gives you maybe another direction to go without investing a lot of money. The rubber stamp, you can get a rubber stamp made for like $40, and now you're able to customize the paper bags, the cardboard boxes, the small bags, the cloth bags. You can see where I'm going with it. Just about anything that you want to stamp as it leaves. And I'd like to think that, when people get a box on the outside and it's from a company they like, they get excited. I hope that when they see Robert Little Leather, they know they're getting ready to open up that custom-made belt that they had ordered and they were waiting on. So I think I've kicked this down the road enough. I really do appreciate you taking time to be with the shop today. Please like, share, and subscribe. But more importantly, have a great day. And go out, check out the Boxery.